some people get in the room for you.
Yeah, it says we're live. Can you
Okay.
see me? Hey
Yep.
guys, this is Jeff here with eBay Addicts, and today I got a special guest. His name is Mr. Buysalot. That's his YouTube channel, and his name is Brian.
That's me. A lot of you
Yep.
know me and stuff like that. And we do a couple other lives here and there, and we're around in the community. So we decided to come on with eBay Addicts tonight and see how everything's going with him, and hopefully get some
Yep.
answers for people's questions. If anybody has anything, sorry my
Right.
hair's all a big mess. It's been a long day, so I've been here since 7 this morning. So we are working.
I hear you, man. So I want to say hi to people in the chat. Hi, bearded veteran and American made, guys. So we're live. So if you guys have if you want to say hi, or you're gonna stop by and ask Brian some questions, or if you want to stop by and ask me some questions, or you just want to say hi, drop comments in the chat. So Brian, could you tell me a little bit about your business? Because I was telling people, I was like, look, man, we're gonna have Mr. Buys a lot in on the live stream tonight, and I was like, he has over 100,000 items in his eBay store. I checked it today; it was like 150,000. Is that correct?
We hit 150,123 items today. So
Right.
we
So
do
I was watching it. Yeah. So what kind of items do you put in your eBay store mainly?
I do a lot of vintage. So I like ephemera, and the business I got started in was in '87. I did sports cards, baseball cards. As a kid, video games. Then I got into toys, and then I went from toys to ephemera. My dad's an auctioneer. My mom deals in vintage textiles. So everybody in our household kind of does different things. I took it a little far and just started buying out other dealers and inventory, and now I have a little bit of everything. But mostly photographs and paper goods. A lot of
So
that.
Brian, my question, my biggest question I want to ask you today: how does somebody go from having, let's say, 500 or 1,000 items in their eBay store, and then how do they go from that to 150,000? Like, do you just snap your fingers? Does it happen overnight, or does it? Because I heard you were doing this for about 25 years, right?
So I had, if you've ever heard of like Pennsylvania, big antiques area, I had a booth inside of Renninger's Antique Market in Adamstown when I was 15. So
Right.
I've been doing flea markets and stuff like that since I was less than a year old. My parents did the whole East Coast from Texas to New York City, doing flea markets and stuff. So I grew up in this business. To scale, I started hiring people to help. And I don't necessarily deal in the stuff that's fast turnover. Some of my stuff is very long haul. There's photos I've had up for a year and a half or 2 years. But the difference is I pay my guys by the item on listing. So my one guy can pump out 1,000 listings a week, and he only works from 9 until 2 o'clock, and then he leaves. So he's really fast, and I create a template. I give them the product. I generally buy in large quantities of one specific type of item. So all it is a real good, I guess it's a good balance of cut and paste and prepping the items. I teach them how to prep the items early, and they do that for one day, and then 4 days of listing, and they can do 200 to 300 items a day.
Awesome. So, Brian, I saw another one of your live streams that said you had 5 or 6 employees. Is that correct? How many employees do you have that work for you right now?
Currently, I have one office manager, and then I have 3 listers. My office manager also does all my packing and shipping. So it's currently 4 plus myself.
Okay. So it's 5 total, right?
Right.
So how did you guys do during this whole pandemic thing? And you said some of your listers, they work from home. So how does that work? You just show up and you just drop off the merchandise at their house, or do you take the photos and then like email it to them, or how does that work?
So I have 2 listers who list from home. One of them is a friend of mine who used to own a pawn shop, super knowledgeable guy. He's not able to get out and get around. So to help him, he had a laptop. I brought it here. I set all my accounts up on it as far as just for him to list. And then once a week, I'll bring him items, drop them off. And then the following week, when I bring him new items, I actually pick up my old items that he listed for that week. The other person actually comes here every Thursday. She drops off items and then picks up new items to list. I teach them both how to list what I want done. Whenever I change up the types of items, and both of them have, prior experience with eBay. We're looking for more people to work.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I actually, before, when I needed to make some extra cash, I worked as an eBay lister at one time for another company. One of them was an estate sale company, and another one, they had a company and they did camping and athletic wear type clothing, and they would get returns that they would sell on eBay, and it wasn't new, so they couldn't resell it on eBay. They couldn't sell it on Amazon. They had to sell it on eBay because they were like Amazon returns. So I would go there and take photos of the items for them and then list them on eBay. And it's funny because, you go in there and I helped them go from where they were at in sales. And when I left, I had to I only came by like one day a week and helped them out for 4 or 5 hours. But I was like showing them how to send offers and how to make listings. And when I left the company, they were doing over $20,000 a month in sales because I was showing them the ins and outs of everything you need to know about eBay, So how did you do during this whole pandemic thing? Did your sales go up or down? Did you stay on a straight and narrow, or how did that go?
I would say for the first 2 to 3 weeks, everybody's kind of scared. So we were probably down 30 or 40%. Then we hit a huge boom. Values went up probably 50% on top. So we went from, I think our best month was about 50,000 in sales. We normally do 25 to 30, and right now it's actually slowed down. It's summertime. We do around 20 to 23,000 in sales currently, but I supplement a lot of that with, I do Facebook live auctions. We're going to start doing YouTube live auctions soon. I just learned how to cross post within the last month, so we have 100 items on Mercari. I have items on Amazon. We listed the first 40 items today on Poshmark, so I just finished doing that today.
So Brian, I think I saw you on another YouTube channel, and you said you sell some days between 100 and 200 items a day. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's so usually on a Monday, because we have Saturday and Sunday sales. On Monday to ship out, we ship anywhere from 100 to 170 items. Is an average Monday. An average day is generally about 60 items, sometimes 70, just depending on what's going on. That's just between eBay and Amazon. And then if I have a auction from Facebook, which is, I can show you here.
So the thing is, I was doing the math in my head, Brian, and I was thinking, man, I was like, if your average sell price, let's say it's $20, and you made 100 sales that day, you probably did over $2,000 a day gross sales, right? Am I in the ballpark?
Yeah, some days. So if I send out offers, I do it once a month. It's hard to do as many things as we have to do. But like once a month, I'll send out offers to everybody who's a watcher on my items on eBay. So I may send out 3,000 offers a month, and I just do it all at one time. It takes up 3 or 4 hours of my day. I knock 20% off, send out the blanket offers, and then a bunch of people, accept.
Really?
The next day we have a $2,000 or $3,000 day.
Wow.
So those are the good days. Or you get somebody who comes in, like an institutional, come in and buy. We have government reports from 1800. So we may have an institution in Illinois, a library that wants to buy anything to do with Civil War from Illinois. So
I was just
50 pieces.
Yeah, I was just asking because I was like trying to do the math in my head, and I'm like thinking, man, if he can sell 100 items a day, if his average sell price is just $20 a piece, he's probably doing some days, $2,000 a day in gross sales. Right. And so, when I send out offers, I usually will send out offers like 10% off. So let's say if I have an item listed for $20, I'll send them an offer of $18 just to try to generate sales, Yep.
Yeah, and we normally talk about 20% off because we buy very well, and I buy in very large bulk. So maybe the photos that we have up, we have 100,000 photos listed from a newspaper that I bought out for $20,000. It's cost me $50,000 to have those items listed at 50 cents an item. So, we have, say, 50 cents a piece into the listings. We list them at $17 or best offer. If I end up with $10, if somebody offers me $10, I'm going to sell it. I'm making 20 times my money.
Yeah, see, now you're thinking like I'm thinking. Like, I'll go buy a DVD at a pawn shop. I'll show you. I just grabbed some today. And so if I buy these items, let's say at a pawn shop for 50 cents a piece, and then sell them for $10 a piece, that's 20x on my money. So if I can get a 20x, I'll do that every day of the week. And then some of these, you'll pick them up for a quarter or 50 cents a piece. And if you can sell them, let's say you paid 50 cents a piece and they sell for $20, now you're getting a 40x on your money. Right. So now, see see when I talk about listing 100 items a day, or I talk about having 10,000 items in my eBay store, my other YouTubers, they look at me like I got 3 heads. They look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, no, I'm like, this is a real thing. Like, if you hustle, I mean, it's a lot of the items I sell right now are like, they're items like this that have barcodes on them. Yeah. So they're like video games and CDs and DVDs and Blu-rays. So all I have to do is scan one of these barcodes, put sell similar on it, and then boom, it's up and off the running. You know, I can get it listed like that. It's not take all day to do it. And so that's why I'm like, look, I'm not spending 10 hours listing items. I can list 100 items in maybe an hour or two, you know, just because I'll get up and I'll have my items in stacks of 10, and then maybe I'll do 50 of them, and then I'll get up and go grab a bite to eat for lunch, or, you know, go for a walk, or, you know, go do laundry and take a break and come back, list another 50 items, you know?
Yep. And that's the key, is if you're willing to put in the work, the business itself will pay for itself. My general rule of thumb is, if I can double up, I'm happy. If you can double up quickly on anything, and I'm sure if you've watched the videos, like, we sell wholesale. So on my YouTube channel, we'll sell 100 pieces of clothing that, if you look on eBay, they might be $30 a piece. And I'm selling you 100 pieces at $4 a piece shipped to your house. And I can do that because I paid $1.50 a piece. I'm doubling my money. I'm not doing any of the work. I'm letting my customer base sell, and I'm not competing with them.
So Brian, do you list
$1 deal? It's good.
Do you list any of the items yourself, or do you have all your employees list all your items for you?
Any cross posting is done by me. Any items that are moved from auction to the store are done by me. Anything that is not press photos or government reports right now is done by me. So the clothing, we just bought the tractor trailer load of clothes. We're using Sellhound to do a lot of that, but we're finding that they can't do vintage, and there's some things that they can't do that I'll have to take on, or I'll have to hire somebody that knows clothing. I always look at my time as really valuable, and I'm willing to pay people to do my work for me if they're doing a good job. So if somebody lists 20 items an hour and they're doing a better job than I would do, I'm happy to pay that person $20 or $30 an hour, because I couldn't do as good of a job as them. And I want my listings to be really good, and I want to learn clothing, because it's something that's everywhere. You can find it no matter where you live.
I don't like clothing just because you'll ship it out and there might be a stain, there might be a little small minute hole in the armpit you didn't see, and then you have returns, or a customer says it didn't fit them properly and they want to return, or it didn't match, or it wasn't the right style. I like items that I can get that are brand new in the shrink wrap. There's no confusion. You can't say, oh, I didn't know, it didn't fit me, or it was the wrong color, any of that stuff. I want to be in and out, drop it off, put it in my padded envelope, drop it in the mailbox, and be done with it, you know? Because people will still, when you have clothing, they still send you questions like, what's the measurements of the clothing? You know, what size is it? What color is it? What, you know, does it have like little lace or something on it? You know what I mean? They ask you 99 questions.
We post all that stuff. So we have a picture of it with tape measures, so you know exactly how long it is from shoulder to cuff, from chest, from armpit to armpit, length from collar to waist. So we actually do that work ahead of time, so I don't have to answer those questions. But we tell everybody, hey, it's out of an estate. If we see a spot, if we see a tear, we're showing it to you. If the item isn't $25 shipped or more, I literally throw that stuff in boxes for the flea market for $1. If it's $20 shipped on eBay and they sell 100 of them a month, I'm selling that item for $1 at the flea market, because it's just not worth the time it's going to take us to look through 50,000 pieces of clothes to find all the $5 and $10 stuff. It's just not going to be worth it for us.
Right. I hear what you're saying.
In that category, we're learning.
So, guys, guys, we're live. Hey, Brian, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that the chat was asking you.
Sure.
one of the guys wanted to know how much you pay your employees to list items for you, because I think you said it's about 50 cents an item, right?
Depending on what they're listing. So the press photos that we do, I pay 50 cents an item. Government reports I do, I've been paying 75 cents an item and $1 an item for ones that require to have maps or diagrams. It requires more photographs. It depends on how long it should take to do something. My guy that does, 1,000 listings a week, he's making $500. He's working 4-hour days. So he's working $20. He's making 500, or 20 hours. He's making 500 cash a week. He's paid under the table as contract labor. The only person on my payroll currently is my office manager.
So wait a minute. So $500 a week for about 20 hours worth of work. That's about $20 an hour. Am I correct?
Right. Yeah, it's about $25 an hour.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to do the math in my head, and I was like, that's not bad. That's working from home. So if someone wanted to work as an eBay lister,
he's doing it here at the warehouse.
Oh, he's working at the warehouse?
Yep.
So if someone wanted to get a part-time job as an eBay lister, how would they go about finding someone to work as an eBay lister?
So most people, and I've actually talked to a lot of other sellers about this, the average pay is about $10 an hour cash under the table. People just want to hire someone to come in and help do photographs, organization, or the listing aspect of things, or hire somebody to pack and ship while they list. General pay is about $10 an hour cash to start, which is about $15 an hour if you were on the books. So that's kind of where we start everybody at, to get their feet wet. It's a really monotonous job. So after a couple months, we offer to pay them on the books if that's how they want to earn. I have no problem with that, or they can stay contract labor. It's up to them, and they report what they want to report. So, but a lot of people get burned out really fast. In my business, we try to list so many items, and we have so much coming in and going out that it does become and you get
it's gonna be repetitive, almost like you're working on an assembly line or something, right?
Yeah.
Boop, 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 it comes down a conveyor belt. All right, hand it to them, take a photo front and back, list it, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And
yeah,
we don't have them do the hard stuff. So when
I worked as an eBay lister for a company, they paid me $15 an hour cash. So if it was taxes, it would have been equivalent of about $20 an hour, because they were going to take out about 25% out in taxes. You know what I mean?
At least.
So hey, Benz, thanks for stopping by, guys. We're live. So if you want to ask questions to our guests, you can go ahead and drop it in the chat. Mr. Buysalot, if you don't mind me asking, I wanted to get into some of your backstory a little bit, because I think I saw you in another live stream, and you said that you went to school to be a chef. So I'm kind of curious how you ended up going to school to get a degree, and you're like, okay, I got a degree. I'm working as a chef. This is what I'm going to school for, and that transitioned into having 150,000 items on eBay. So how did that work? I'm not trying to, if you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit of your backstory of how that happened.
So obviously, my dad's an auctioneer. We've had an antique shop. They used to own a restaurant. My mom does textiles pre-1920. So I was born into this. I love the aspect of the buy. It's like a big treasure hunt to me. But, I have a business mind that says, hey, if eBay shuts down one day, what happens? If the economy goes bad, what happens? So I said, I was young, so I was obviously thinking about girls and like, what impresses women? If you can cook, if you can cook, you can deal with yourself when you don't have a girlfriend or whatever. And if you do have a partner, you can cook for them and treat them right. That was my first thought, because I was young. And then my business side went, well, what's the one thing in the world that will always be there? There'll always be a job for a cook, because everybody's got to eat. That's just what it boils down to. And if you can afford to go out and eat, you need somebody to cook it for you. So that's why I went to that route. But I have friends that have their own restaurants and stuff. Hey, Joey, let's get going. So I have friends who have their own restaurants. They're putting in, 15 to 20-hour days, and their take-home pay is maybe $100,000 a year. And, I started doing the math, and I'm like, man, I theoretically, if I wasn't paying the overhead that I pay, making $100,000 a year would be nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say 100 grand a year is nice, but when you get a little bit older, you start thinking like, man, instead of making 100 grand a year, how much can I make per month? Because that's what I start thinking. I start thinking, well, 100 grand a year, that's nice and all, but by the time you take out, like I worked in a factory, and so by the time they took out your 401k, union dues, health insurance, pension, all this stuff that was taken out of your check. And it was like, okay, your check might be 1,800 or 2,000 gross, and you're bringing home 800 bucks of that, or 900.
Yeah.
Hey, Joey, hey, bearded veteran. We were just asking Mr. Buysalot about his backstory. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you went to school. How long to be a chef? For 4 years?
So I went to Votech during my high school. So for the 3 years there, I went, and then I won nationals in a competition. So I won a 2-year scholarship to Johnson & Wales. I went for 1 year of the 2 years, and I just decided that I really wanted to do antiques and collectibles. So I started doing it one time. I've done eBay since eBay was auction.net, so before it was eBay. Michelle and Pierre. I've been doing it
back in the day when we had that AOL dial-up thing, right? Yep. You remember that?
Yeah, dial-up. But so we've done a lot of stuff. News groups were real big back then. So I've been in the internet sales since then, and flea markets. Then I got frustrated when eBay did the whole star rating thing, and then I couldn't leave negative feedback for a buyer who didn't pay me, or for a buyer who told me like, "Hey, I got your board game, but it's missing pieces." And I'm like, "I sent you a sealed board game." "Yeah, but it was still missing pieces." And I'm like, "Well, how is it? You just admitted it was sealed when you got it. How's it missing pieces?" And they're like, "Yeah, well, eBay's going to side with me." And eBay did. So I got really frustrated with eBay, and I actually quit eBay for about a year. Looked into real estate investing, did a couple of flips, and I'm really bad with paperwork. So it's really hard for me to do the real estate, which I'd love to do. I would much rather do that. But then I got roped back into buying. I bought out a train station and got about 100,000 pieces of vintage train ephemera paperwork and stuff from the 1890s through about the 1950s. So I started doing really well with that, and that brought me back into eBay. And then I started buying out other dealers and buying really large quantities, and went from 13 storage units to a warehouse, and then to a second warehouse. And
I was going to say, I heard you have 2 warehouses now.
Yeah, we have 2 warehouses, and I just rented 3 storage units in the last month because I bought a deal in Indianapolis, and I have another couple deals that I bought. So we have 3 storage units plus 2 warehouses.
Yeah, I totally can relate, man. And sometimes I'll ship out an item to a customer, and I'm thinking like, dude, it's brand new in a shrink wrap. There should be no problem with it. Then the customer sends me a message that they want to return it and said that it was defective. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's new in the shrink wrap. How in the heck could it be defective? So then I'm just, and that's why I get a lot of items for a quarter or 50 cents or $1. So in case something does happen, it's not the end of the world. I'm like, worst case scenario, I'm out 50 cents. So the person sends me the item back, and it was, let's say it's a DVD, and they've already watched the movie. They return it back to me, and it's not sealed anymore. It's open. And I'm like, I can't do nothing with it. So I just pitch it in the garbage, gave the customer a refund, because the thing is, they can leave you negative feedback. Even though you send them a brand new item, it's new in the shrink wrap, they could be trying to scam you, and the only thing you can do is just say, have a nice day, So I definitely, sometimes I do kind of bite my lip sometimes. I'm just like, wait a minute, it's brand new in the shrink wrap. I shipped it right to your door. It was there within 3 days. What's the problem, So I definitely can relate on that, man.
And as you get bigger, there is a point where, I get comments like, I get some people that are like, "Oh, you're very arrogant." Well, I'm not trying to come off that way, but there are people that send me a message on eBay, and they're like, "Well, you should give this to me for $5 because I'm on disability, and this is a picture of my great-grandfather from 1873, and I have it on for $40. I'm like, "Hey, look, I'd love for it to go to your home, and I'll give it to you for $20. I'll give it to you for half price, just because I'd like to see you get it." And they're like, "Oh, well, you're just ripping off the public." And I'm like, "Okay, well, then I don't want to sell it to you at all, period." And all this stuff with that guy, and I'm like, "Look, if you came up to me at a flea market and I had something at $20 and you offered me 50 cents, I will put it on the ground and stomp on it in front of you to let you know that I'm not at the flea market because I have to be there at 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm there because I want to be there, and because this is how I make a living. Like, I don't let people walk on me anymore because of what I do. A lot of people think that this business is not a real job or real work. There's a lot of work involved in this. I'm putting in 12 to 14-hour days every day. I unload trucks. I move 100-pound boxes. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of stress involved.
Yeah. Yeah, with eBay buyers, they don't see the work behind it. They don't think like, okay, he had to find the item, he had to list it, he had to take photos, he had to store it, he had to box it, ship it. They don't think about, oh, there's eBay fees, PayPal fees, and all this stuff taken out of it. The only thing, they don't think that you even have money tied up in the item. They just say, okay, there's this video game here. He's asking $25. I'm going to offer him $5 because I want a fixed income. And I'm just like, okay, well, do you go to GameStop and Target and do that? Do you walk in there and say, hey, I know you got that video game behind the case. I'll give you $5 for that $50 video game, and then stomp out of there like a little kid if they don't sell it to you for $5. And I'm just like, okay,
I've had people make comments like, well, eBay's fees and what you pay in shipping and what you pay your employees has nothing to do with me. And I'm like, but your offer is 30% of my asking price. It doesn't even cover what I paid or what I pay my employees. Well, that's not my problem. Well, obviously, I accept your offer, so that's the end of the negotiation to me. And then, I've had people send really nasty messages. Like, I've had people threaten my children. And I'm like, dude, it's over a $10 item. You're threatening my family? Like, everything. Yeah. Come on. Like, there's people that need to, to wake up in the morning and just say, hey, look, I'm happy that I'm on this side of the dirt. And that's, at the end of the day, I'm happy if I'm breathing and I'm healthy and my kids are healthy. Like, if I can do things that will benefit their future, that's all that matters to me. Everything else, at the end of the day, I can replace anything else. But my friends and my family are all that matters.
Yeah, and your health, and right. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. How much do you rent or own your warehouse where you work at? Do you own the building or do you rent it? And how does that work? And you said you have your lady, I think her name is Pam, is that right? You're the office manager. Right. How many hours does she work? Does she like handle the customer service and pulling orders for you and shipping and all that?
So Pam has been with me for 15 or 16 years. We've been really close friends, and she's worked for me for the last 6 or 8 years. She's a friend of my wife's as well. And we're good friends outside of work as well as in work. She works about 30 to 35 hours a week. She does most of my packing and shipping. Her and I both in the morning start pulling items, and then she packs and ships. Our mail pickup is at 12:30 every day, right at lunchtime. And then her and I both get lunch right after the mail goes out. And then if there's anything else to be packed or shipped, we do that afterward. And if not, then we start listing or prepping merchandise for the listers to get ready.
So, but how much I know we talked about what you pay your employees, but how much overhead do you have with your warehouses? Because you're talking about water, electric, internet, all that stuff that you have in your warehouses. Then you have these storage units as well. So how much overhead do you have right now just to store your items? Because I saw one of your warehouses was just full of items that you haven't even listed yet. Is that still the case?
Yeah, so I have, that place is actually relatively cheap. It's about 3,400 square feet. That place I'm paying $600 a month flat. There's no electric, no heat, no air. It's the basement of a building. It's super cheap. I would keep that place forever, even if I don't live around the area, just for storage. My other warehouse is a little over, it's around $1,700 a month for the rent. I spend about another $350 a month for utilities. So, between storage and rents and everything else.
So that right there is like $2,600 a month right there, right?
$2,500, and then our eBay bills anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 a month.
Woo!
And employees
$5,000 to $7,000 a month?
Yeah, and then our employees are another $7,000 to $8,000 a month. So it adds up very quickly to where our take home is not huge. And I never wanted it to be, it wasn't something that I don't have to be making a huge profit. My goal was to build up a huge inventory, kind of like a nest egg. And then when I move to another location, like we're planning to move south to South Carolina area where my family's at, and I want to be close to the beach.
So you're going to be down there by Myrtle Beach?
Yep. That's actually where my family lives. So
that's cool, man. Yeah, I'm in Tampa, so I won't be too far from you. Because I remember I saw one of your videos where you had this huge pallet of remotes that you paid like $600 for, and I'm like, man, I can't find them nowhere for that price. You know, not for a huge pallet of remotes for $600. And I'm like, I mean, I'm looking. Yeah, if I see one at a thrift store for 50 cents, I grab it and put it in the cart. But for a big whole pallet like you got for like $600, you must have had like the homie hookup deal on that one, right?
I actually buy those regularly. Like,
oh yeah,
I've sold probably 5 pallets of remotes. There's about 3,000 to 5,000 remotes in a pallet. I pay $600. I flip them for $1,200. I don't look at them. I don't do anything other than they bring them here. They drop them off at my warehouse. Guys come here and buy the pallet and throw them in their car, and that's the end. When are
you planning on moving down to South Carolina? Are you maybe in the next year or so, or what are you thinking?
We're hoping for next summer. I have to work on my lease here. I'll leave Pam in charge of a portion of my business. Will be still here in Pennsylvania, but the majority of my business will move down south with me as far as all the inventory and everything like that. We're gonna change directions. I'm not gonna do as much eBay. I'm hoping to make 200,000 items by next summer, and then not having the employees other than one will scale back my cost. My eBay fees hopefully will scale back as well, because we're shifting to multiple platforms. So we'll be doing an extra 30 or 40% income based on 5 different platforms. So selling more merchandise. And, so our overhead will be less. PayPal right now, we have a PayPal loan for working capital for business. And, I think when I took that, it was 70,000 and it cost me 18,000 to take. So we have to pay back 88,000. They said it'd take 5 years. We're less than a year and a half, and I owe $13,000 left. So we paid them over 70,000 in the last year and a half.
So Brian, man, I'm gonna have to come visit when you move down there to South Carolina, because I'm down here in Tampa and Clearwater area. So I'm gonna have to come by and visit you sometime. That'd be cool. Yeah, come by and hang out and visit you guys sometime.
Yep.
So I got a couple of questions for you. I saw your video where you went to go by and visit Craigslist Hunter, man. How did that go? When you went to go by and visit his shop?
Pete is amazing. Like out of everybody that I've met in the business or in the YouTube aspect of business, he is fantastic. It is refreshing to meet somebody who's genuine and not just doing it for YouTube or for. There's a lot of drama going on YouTube, and if you're making videos to make videos and you're making drama to make those videos good, you're not real. It's just another TV show, and just be honest about it. Say, hey, look, I'm making this video for you guys. If you ask anybody that I deal with, Tommy Bernard, any of those guys, I'm very upfront. Hey, I'm doing YouTube because it is an extension of business. It is a way for me to network. It is a way for me to grow my business. And ultimately, we're going to sell stuff on YouTube, and I'm going to get away from eBay. I'd much rather sell directly and get 40% of what I get on eBay and sell it to you guys here on YouTube, and let you get the 100%, make that 60% difference, and do all the work.
It's amazing to me when you. It's amazing to me when you have a YouTube channel, how many people you can meet from all walks of life all over the world, people that you wouldn't have run into just, willy-nilly walking in the street. Like I wouldn't walk into Burger King and run into a Craigslist Hunter. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, so when you have a YouTube channel, you can branch out and reach out to talk to people. Right. So I wanted to ask you a few more questions real quick before we let you go. But when I first watched the first video of yours that I watched was you were talking about your goals for 2020. And when you were talking about how you wanted to push yourself and how you wanted to get all these extra items listed, as soon as I saw your video, I hit subscribe, because I was like, you know what, this Mr. Buysalot guy, even though he's way up in Pennsylvania, we're on the same playing field. He wakes up every day, every week. He's trying to improve his life and improve his situation. He's trying to put the pedal to the metal. He's not just coasting, trying to freestyle it. He's actually trying to push his business further and expand and hire more employees. So can you tell everybody like what type of goals you set for yourself in 2020 and how you're doing with your goals this year?
So in February, that video came out, February 16th or 17th. I said that we would, in 1 year, create 50,000 listings. So my staff and myself would list 50,000 items, or I will give one of my subscribers $1,000. I will do it on camera. I will fly to wherever they're at, and we'll just use a random generator online. It'll pick somebody who made a comment, and I'll give them $1,000 because I want to hold myself accountable for what I know we can do as a team, and we're going to surpass that. Unless, and I think in the video it said, like, unless something happens and, you know, eBay gets rid of us, or, you know, something crazy happens, we should be able to hit these goals. They're realistic.
Yeah.
You know, I could have said, hey, in a year, in 12 months, we want to do 120,000 listings, 10,000 listings a month. That's super hard to do while we're trying to grow. You know, if I had no YouTube, I had no Amazon, I had no Facebook auctions, that would be really hard to do. We could probably do those numbers. But with everything else, you know, I set it at 50,000 items and 50 YouTube videos. I think we're at about 45 YouTube videos since that video came out, and we are at, I think, at 106,000 listings at the time. So we're at 150 now. I'm 6,000 off of having the number of listings we wanted. And the caveat to the contest for myself was I have to cover how many items we also sell. So every month, if we sell 1,000 items, we had to go from listing 50,000 to listing 62,000 by next February. So
yeah, so guys, we're live with Brian, and if you guys don't know, he has over 150,000 items right now in his eBay store, and he has 5 employees, and he has 2 warehouses. So, Brian, I'm sorry we went over a 30-minute mark, but I just want to ask you. One more question. It's kind of like a 3-part question. If people are watching you and they're like, man, I only have 500 or 1,000 items or 2,000 items listed in my eBay store, and I want to scale it to get to 10,000 or 20,000 or 100,000 items like you, what would be 3 or 4 tips or tricks that you can give people? Because there's going to be down days where you're just like, man, I want to give up. This isn't for me. I've had 3 returns today. I've had slow sales. I've got so much money tied up in this merchandise. You just want to kick rocks and keep walking. So what kind of advice would you give to some of our viewers that's watching? Like, I would say your 5 top tips. I know you got, I was going to say 3, but we'll go with 5. How about that?
I'm in no rush, so we're good. I would say no matter how hard anything goes, if you're not moving yourself forward, you're letting yourself fall backwards. So always keep moving forward. I have days whenever we do $120 in sales. Obviously, my overhead is well over $120 a day. I don't get discouraged at all by that. I look at it as, okay, well, my guy still listed 200 items, even though we didn't sell a bunch. That's 200 items that potentially can sell tomorrow. So I look at the good aspect of everything. Because if you focus on bad, you're just going to get in the wrong mindset, and you need to be in a good place in your mind and in your intentions. So that's probably the main one. The second one is, if you want to grow your business, understand you're going to need help. Nobody can do it alone. No man is an island, I guess, is the key phrase. But if you want to grow to a substantial amount, if you're doing media or books, there are ways to do 50,000 listings by yourself. And there's very easy ways to get merchandise sourcing for those type of items. If you're doing vintage collectibles and stuff like that we do, it's a little bit harder. So you have to get your name out there, and your reputation has to mean everything. If I tell somebody like, hey, I'll give you $5,000 for your storage unit of inventory, and that person comes back to me 2 days later and says, hey, I'll take the $5,000, I can't change my mind. Like, I can't go, okay, well, that offer's no longer good because you waited.
Hey, Brian.
Sure.
Hey, Brian, can you time out for a second, buddy? You're breaking up on me. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Can you jump out and jump back in, because your mouth isn't moving?
No problem.
You froze up. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Can you jump out?
Nobody's killing people.
All right. Are you there?
Yep. Can you see me better now?
Yeah, better? I can see you. Sorry, we had to reboot the stream for a second because it froze up. Sorry. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were just freezing up for a second.
I was actually reading through some of the questions. Somebody asked about Facebook Live auctions. Facebook Live auctions are the same as your YouTube auctions, except we don't use StreamYard. So I belong to a group called Backers Ephemera Group. I do my auctions from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Tomorrow I will actually have an auction. Susan and I alternate days. So this week I'm on Tuesday and Thursday. Next week I'm Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I start everything at $5. If it's a $500 rock and roll poster, I start it at $5, no reserve. It sells for whatever it sells for. You just have to be a member of the group to bid.
All right.
That's how to deal with the Facebook auctions, and we get paid through PayPal.
Right.
Trying to see if there was any other questions. But if you want to grow, I would suggest getting one person to help you do the task you don't like to do. If you don't like to take pictures, hire somebody to take pictures. If you don't like to pack and ship, hire somebody to pack and ship. Always value your time as it's important, because your time and your knowledge are what drives your business. Anybody can sell. Anybody can learn how to sell. It just takes perseverance and knowledge that's readily available. When I started, there was no YouTube, community of people helping each other. It was cutthroat business. I didn't teach the next guy that bought toys what toys were hot at the moment, and he didn't teach me the same thing. Now everybody teaches everybody, like, hey, Zion Williams cards are bringing crazy money, so go out to your Walmart and buy Panini basketball if you can buy them for $20. Reverie sell, on his channel, he tells you, like, hey, for $20 you can buy a blaster box at Walmart. You can list that same box on eBay and get $100 without opening those packs.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Nobody tells anybody that because they want to go to Walmart and do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're not at my Walmart or Target. By the time they get on the shelf, they're gone. But it's one of those things, like, people are willing to share knowledge here, which is really a wonderful thing. I was kind of afraid when I was growing up that I was one of the youngest people in the business. Now seeing a bunch of other young people get involved because of YouTube is really refreshing. I was kind of afraid the business was going to slow down or peter out, and it's not.
So number one is you need to hire help. So how much money should you reinvest back in your business when you start making sales? And let's say you made $100 today. How much of that, out of the $100, should you reinvest back in your business to buy in more merchandise?
It depends on your living situation. My wife obviously has a job. She doesn't want to do the stuff here. So as long as my bills are paid, I reinvest everything after that into my business. My household bills get paid first, and then everything that's left over after the bills here at the warehouse are paid goes back into inventory and back into merchandise until it's built up. There will be a point where I won't buy nearly as much, and then I'll have to be Mr. Sells a lot. But until then, we continue to buy. There's not a deal that, I've looked at deals that are $1 million, and if that deal was a good enough deal, I have people that my word and my reputation mean enough to them where they would support me and would bring up that money.
Yeah, I think I saw you in another live stream where it was like some other retail stores were going out of business, and you had an opportunity to buy up some of their merchandise because their retail stores went out of business. You're able to get it for like pennies on the dollar, right?
Right. So I bought out Sears locally. I paid about 5 cents on the dollar. I made a deal with them ahead of time that they would not do the last day of the sale. They dropped down to about 85% prior to that, and then the last day is 90%, and then the last hour of that day is 95%. I said, look, if other people can buy it at 95% off, I'm not going to take everything in the store at 95% off. That doesn't do me any good. So if at 85%, that's where the sale ends, and I get everything that's left at my 5 cents on the dollar, I'll take everything in the store. They agreed to it. I just had to show up that morning of the last day of the sale. They put a sign on the door, said everything in the store sold.
Right. So
they rang me up through the cash register, and I paid 5 cents on the dollar.
So go ahead, Brian. So I was going to ask you, how often should someone be listing items? Should they just say, okay, I listed 10 items today, I'm good? Or what should they try to push themselves? Because my first thing is, before you even get started, I feel like you should give yourself a goal. You should say, okay, my goal today is to list 50 items or 100 items to go. That way, you know what your target is before you even sit down. Does that make sense?
I think that it depends on what else you're doing. If you're spending the whole day listing, set yourself a goal for your day or for the hour. It seems like that if you set a goal for an hour to list 3 items and you achieve 3 items, you yourself are proud of yourself. So to set the next goal, 5 items for an hour is obtainable, and it's a completely doable goal. If you don't meet your goals, it seems like you get disheartened about it and you get upset at yourself and your mindset just drops off. So don't over push yourself, but always continue to strive to get a little bit better. Start off low. You know, hey, some people are really happy doing 5 items a day or 10 items a day, and they can make a substantial amount of money. If you list 5 really good electronics that sell for $500 a day, you're making more money than I am listing 200 items a day. And that's great.
It's all relative, right?
Right. It's on some value.
So when you're outsourcing or you have sources to deliver to you, what are you looking for specifically? Are you looking for certain margins? Are you trying to say, are you like me and you're saying, hey, I want to buy this item for 50 cents and sell it for $10? Or do you, what's your like range that you're looking for when you want to buy an item to resell it?
It depends on the value of the item. So if somebody brought me a Amazing Fantasy 15 comic book that I knew I could sell by making a phone call and I could sell it for $30,000 tomorrow, and they wanted $28,000 for it today, I'm going to hand them the $28,000. I'm happy to make that $2,000 for a phone call. If I'm buying bulk and it's a lot of work involved, I like to buy for 50% of what I'm going to sell it for after fees. So if I pay $100, you know, I need to be selling it at $250 so that after the fees, I'm pocketing, you know, $100 profit. Whenever you deal with lower items like $10 and $12, you want to be paying $2 to $3. You want to make 4 times your money, because then after you're making 3 times your money. Those numbers are all doable. If you get, like, I've had people be like, oh, I'm not going to touch anything unless I can make 20 times my money. Well, guess what? You're never going to survive in this business.
Well, you're also passing over a lot of items you can make quick profit on.
Right.
So you might be walking by profit and not even know it, you know, because you're just like, okay, well, I only want to make this much money on each item that I sell. But it's like, okay, if you're doing this 7 days a week and this is your full-time gig, you'd be walking right by profit.
Right.
So Brian, before we let you go, can you tell us a story about that time where you bought those signs from that guy at the flea market? And you bought a sign for like $20, and then you sold it for this huge amount of money. Tell our viewers.
So Leesport Flea Market. Actually, the story still goes around. I went out there in the morning, probably 5:30 in the morning. I was there, just daybreak. I was walking up. Guy was picking up a porcelain sign. I don't do signage, but I buy anything collectible, anything vintage. I looked at the sign. I'm like, hey, it's cool. It's Route 66. This other guy's holding it. I know he's a dealer. I hear the guy tell him $20. The guy asked him to come down on the price. And this is my biggest pet peeve at a flea market is if you know something is really valuable, don't ask for a discount. Just pay the guy. Like, he's working hard. Give him the money. Save that time. Move on. Maybe find another item in that 3 minutes of haggling that you're saving. But on this particular sign, the guy put it down because it had a chip in it. And I walked over and I'm like, hey, how much is the sign? He goes, it's $20. He's like, but I really don't want to do any better. And I'm like, hey, I'm fine with $20. I'm fine with $20 because it would have cost more than that. I turned it over. It's California.
Yeah, the last guy only offered him $10. So right. he turned down. He missed out on all this money over $10. Go ahead, Brian. Continue.
Right. So I just paid the guy $20. He's like, hey, you know, appreciate you buying it. Do you want another sign? And I'm like, sure, let's see what you got. Pulls out an Ohio, I think it was Route 784, I want to say, and it had a Conestoga wagon on it. I flip it over. The porcelain's actually stamped 1928 on the back. I know it's an old sign. How much? $20. Sure, I'll take it. Paid him $20. Walked off. I waited for a little bit, see if he came out with anything else. I bought those 2 signs. A guy actually saw me carrying them to my car. The one was a Route 66 California sign from, I believe it's 1928 or 29. There's only a few known. I had no clue. So a guy came up to me. He's like, oh, the signs are awesome. You know, would you sell them to me? And I'm like, sure. Yeah, what would you offer me? He's like, oh, how about $100 a piece? And I'm thinking, like, I was like, I'd give them to you for $500. I said, I don't know what they're worth. And the guy's like, no, you know, I think that's too much. I said, yeah, I'll keep them. I'll take a shot. I'll just throw them on eBay. And he's like, okay. He's like, maybe I'll bid. So I put them on eBay. The first day, I put up the Conestoga sign first. It brings $784. So I'm super happy. I got $784 for one of two signs that I paid $40 for. The second sign I put on, start getting emails. Hey, will you end this? I'll give you $500. Hey, will you end this? I'll give you $1,000. Guy from Philadelphia messaged with me back and forth. Look, can I drive up and look at it? I'll give you $2,000. I'll give you $100 if you let me drive up and look at it in person. Drive up and look at it in person, no problem. He came up, looked at it in person. I didn't ask him for $100, nothing like that. Just, hey, here, I want you to be happy with it. I'll give you $3,000 for it right now to end it. I'm thinking like, man, should I take this money? It was only at $800. It was the first day. And I was like, no, I can't do that. I was like, I have a rule. Once we list something on eBay, it stays on eBay. I don't take an offer to end it. Sometimes that bites you in the butt. Sometimes it works out really well. In this case, he bid on it. Numerous emails back and forth, a few people. It got up to about $6,000. I had a $9,000 offer on it, and I turned it down. I was on my way back from New York Comic-Con, stopped in at Clinton Station Diner with some friends of mine, and obviously I'm on my cell phone and I'm watching the auction end by the second. I'm hitting the refresh button. About 3 minutes before the auction, it was at 9,200, and I was like, man, you're taking the $9,000 because $9,000 was cash. No eBay fees. I didn't take it. I kept hitting the refresh button, and I'm like, oh, it sold for $9,200. I'm still super happy. I mean, I paid $20. What do I care?
$20 for it. Yeah. So you turned $20 into $9,200, and what did it sell for?
Actually, it refreshed, and it sold for a little over $13,000.
$13,000.
It went to California, and the guy got it, super happy, and I was ecstatic. I actually saw the guy again at the flea market, and I went up and gave him an envelope of money in it. And the guy chased me down the aisle to give me the envelope back.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'm really sorry. Like, wasn't enough. I actually put $2,000 in the envelope. I gave him an extra $2,000 because I had no clue, and I want the guy to remember me. And I'm more than happy. I made $10,000 in profit on an item. If I give the guy $2,000 that's working hard out there, and that reputation will get around. People will be like, oh my gosh, they'll show me everything that comes out of that market.
Right.
And he came up, he's like, look, I spent a very small amount. I bought the entire barn full of stuff. He's like, you didn't ask me to come down on my price. He's like, you paid me my price. He's like, I gave you the price. You didn't give me a price. He's like, so I don't feel right about taking the money. And I was like, well, I did really well with it. I was like, do you have anything else that I can buy from you? I wound up that week, I didn't buy anything from him. 2 weeks later, I bought an entire table full of stuff from him, and I actually gave it to the guy next to him because I knew that guy next to him had just lost his job a couple weeks early. And he had some okay stuff. It was about $500 worth of stuff on the table. I bought his entire booth. He got to go home early, and I just literally told the guy next door, I said, look, go ahead and sell anything you want to sell out of this, and it's my gift to you. And I heard about your job, and I always get good stuff from you. I'm really happy with that. So for weeks, everybody showed me signs like, hey, I picked this up. People showing me 1990s Molson beer signs and telling me that they would take $200 for it. And I'm like, that sign sells for like $15. I picked it up, and I'm not dumb. It's cool. I might be interested. And then the story went around that like, oh, I bought it for $5. I'd walk up to people's booths, and there's at any flea market, there's a few guys that are there every week that have a huge crowd of people buying from them. So I went into one of the guys' booths, and there's this guy. He's like, hey, did you hear about that sign that came out? And the guy got it for $5. Can you believe it? The guy was asking like $100, and he got him down to $5 on the sign. And the guy just looks at me, and he's kind of laughing. He's like, no, I didn't hear about that. He's like, yeah. He's like, I can't believe that he talked the guy down to $5. And he's like, oh, I heard it was $20. And he's like, no, the guy wanted $100 for it. And it happened to be the guy who set the sign down.
Right.
Asking this question to the other guy. And I'm standing behind him, and he's like, oh, well, here's a guy who would know about what happened, about the truth. And the guy comes around to me, and he goes, oh, Brian, he goes, did you hear about the sign? And I said, the sign? And he's like, I said, oh, is it that ugly street sign that you were looking at the other week? And I was like, I was like, yeah. I said, I saw that. And he's like, can you believe the guy took $5 for it? And I was like, he's like, I offered that guy $10. And I was like, the guy was only asking 20. Why didn't you just pay him $20? He's like, oh, did you overhear it? And I'm like, I bought it. And he's like, you bought it? He's like, why? He's like, you should have just left it there. He's like, I could have came back. That guy would have gave it to me for $10. I'm like, because there's no reason to do that. Like, it is.
Yeah, the guy's out here working out in the heat, working 10, 12-hour days, and you want to argue with this guy over at $10, and because you went out of your way and gave the guy full asking price, $20, you were able to turn $20 into $13,000.
Yep.
But had you tried to haggle with the guy and said, look, dude, I'm not going to pay you a penny over $15, you would have walked away empty-handed with nothing. Awesome. And what I like about you, Brian, is you went out of your way to give the guy an envelope full of cash, an extra $2,000, to say, hey, man, you help me out, I want to help you out, so in the future you can do business with this guy again, right?
And obviously that reputation gets around. People are like, at a flea market, we have Saylorsburg near us. I bought a robot one day, and by the time I got to the other end of the flea market, people were like, man, I heard you bought a robot. And I'm like, I couldn't have bought this car, and you already knew what I bought way over there. I'm like, how's that even possible? So word gets around, and as long as you're willing to be fair with people, you'll get a good reputation. But if you make a mistake, live up to it. If you offer somebody, $50 for this bottle of water because you think it's a $200 bottle, and then you look it up on your phone and realize, oops, I made a mistake. It's a $3 bottle of water, and that guy says, hey, I'll take the $50. Give him his $50. You offered it. Be a man of your word or a woman of your word, whatever. Yeah. But your word has to mean more than your money. Has to.
Right. I don't mean to interrupt you, Brian, but Jennifer asked me a question. Well, actually, Jennifer, the way I got into selling on eBay was actually from YouTube. There's a YouTuber I watched. His name was GillDaddy, and he would go to the bins and he would load up the back of his truck with remotes and vacuum cleaner parts and all type of crazy stuff. And he would load his back of his van up, and he would say, hey, we were here for 2 hours and we got $1,000 worth of merchandise in the back of this van. And here I am working in a factory, working 12-hour days, 6-7 days a week, mind you. And I'm busting my tail to make $1,000, and he's making that in 2 hours. So actually I reached out to him, and GillDaddy's supposed to be on the channel next week. So if you guys tune in, you'll see GillDaddy and Gill Mama's coming. I sent him an email. They confirmed, so they're going to be here next week. It was going to be a surprise, but since you asked nicely, I told you. So that's what actually happened, because I've worked in this factory for 10 years. Mind you, it's 100 degrees in this factory. There's no air conditioner. I'm driving a forklift. I'm in the back of this semi truck, and I'm busting my tail working 10, 12-hour days, 6-7 days a week. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a minute. I get my check and my take-home check after I pay union dues, health insurance, paying them a 401k, state, local, federal taxes. I'm busting my tail to make $1,000, and these guys are walking out with $1,000 of merchandise in 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And so I was just threw my hands up, and I was like, okay, let's try this. So the very next day, I went to Goodwill, and we just started buying items to sell on eBay, and I've been on eBay ever since. So, anyways. Yeah, because I was just like, man, I'm in the air conditioning. I get to work from home. I'm not out in 100-degree heat. I don't have to wear a uniform. I don't have some boss breathing down my neck yelling at me. I don't have someone pulling out a stopwatch saying, hey, you're 5 minutes over your lunch break. None of that. I don't have to worry about getting reprimanded, so you're going to be reported. None of that. So anyways, it's been about an hour. We've had Brian on, Mr. Buysalot. I want to thank you guys for hanging out watching today. And if you guys don't know Mr. Buysalot, Brian, he's a really cool guy. We have a really similar mindset, so go subscribe to his channel. And if you want more live streams, hit like and subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it. My goal this year is to reach 1,000 subscribers. And I have another mystery guest coming on Friday. I'm not telling you who it is, but you will know who it is. It's a very big, well-known YouTuber and eBay seller. He's coming on Friday night, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, thanks, guys, for hanging out, okay? Bye.
Hey, thank you, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.